Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our mini retreat again. And we're all back to IRC. As you can see, I'm standing on the forest deck. Yeah, so before I forget, I want to let you know that for the next 2 weeks, all the resident volunteers will be on retreat. So we'll miss you guys for the introduction and the community time, but Nikki will still be teaching the mini retreat for the next 2 Wednesdays. Thank you, Nikki. And yeah, we're all back to IRC. It's beautiful. I mean, the color of the sky is a little weird, but it is beautiful. Yes, so the fire is still influencing us in many ways. Firstly, like there's still ashes all over the property. One of the biggest project that we're gonna do as work meditation during the 2-week retreat is to clean up the ashes. And yeah, the heat wave was past weekend was I'm sure influencing lots of you. But with all of that, it is beautiful. I suggest that I will take you on a walk again, because as last time I said, the trails are my favorite part of IRC. So maybe you can see the forest deck. The color is covered by ashes, but the forest is still beautiful. And we all love the forest deck and the redwood trees. Oh, here's a new member of the community moo. And you can see a lot of ashes on the ground, actually. Okay, there is our garden shed. The arbor. Moo wants to join us for the walk. Here is Victor's bench again. I later learned that Victor helped building the audio Dharma site. Yeah, thank you, Victor. And let's go this way. After my first tour of the trails, I learned a little bit more from Eileen and Ines about the history a little bit. So I heard at first the fence was very close to the building, and Betsy, our first landscape volunteer, did a lot of work to develop this part of IRC. Here is Marty's bench again. And thank you, Marty and Barbara, for making IRC possible. Thank you. All right. Maybe let's go this way. Steepest trail. I heard Gwendolyn, another resident volunteer, helped developing this trail. It's yeah, as you can see, there's a lot of things that we need to clean up. Without all of you helping us, it's a lot of work to maintain IRC, but it kind of kept its natural beauty in this way. And I believe these steps are put in by Stas, our current landscape manager and resident volunteer. Thank you. Wow, that was quite a workout. Okay. All right. Maybe let's sit down for a little bit. Thank you for taking the walk with me. And as I walk on the trail, I think of all the goodness that the past volunteers and Sangha members have put in to the community, to IRC. and thank you, Mo, for catching my eyes for IRC. And yeah, I just want to take a moment to recall all the goodness that we are in. And in this moment of uncertainty and crisis, I think we are all we need. Thank you. And I just want to remind you guys about the community time at the end. So the Zoom link is in the description, and the password is community. And today, our special guest, Gil, will be in the meditation hall. So I'll turn it in to Gil now.
So, hello everyone, and welcome to the mini retreat here at IRC, and this is the first time I've been in the meditation hall in 6 months. and came down here with all the proper protocol and distancing from the resident volunteers. And I'm very happy to both be here, to be in the community with the resident volunteers, and to have this experience of being back in this wonderful meditation hall. So I'll say more as we go through the morning, but I think of these retreat centers and IRC as being a place where we do the work of becoming real, of really discovering what's really true for us in the present moment experience. And that discovering what's really true in a certain sense goes below the layers of all the reactivity, all the delusion, all the complications that we live our life by. And that rather than escaping from the world, meditation is in fact kind of a returning to the world. And we're embodying it more fully, we're more here for our experience, and we're more attentive and present in the world that we're living in. And that's a precious thing to do. So to do this process, we can take a meditation posture and gently close your eyes. And it's often good at the beginning of the meditation to take a few long, slow, deep breaths. And as you breathe out, to relax your body, to settle into where you are. And to then let your breathing return to normal. And this process of returning some deep way to ourselves is supported by relaxing the body, relaxing and letting go. You might relax your face, relax your shoulders, relax your belly, and relax into this place where you're sitting. And the mind can wander off to other places at other times. It can wander off into fantasy and delusion and conversations with other people. And the meditation is a returning to here, returning to yourself, here, embodied and present. And that at the center of here, you might place your breathing or place yourself in the breathing. And letting the simplicity, the simple experience, physical experience of breathing, be your anchor, your connection to the present moment. Here. Breathing in and breathing out. And when the mind wanders off, you might think of that as the escape. And the returning to reality is coming back to your body and your breathing. And if possible, trusting. Being with yourself, being with the body. In trusting yourself with the breathing. Perhaps with each exhale and each inhale. In trusting yourself to that inhale and that exhale. So that was our first meditation. And now there's a period of 20 minutes for walking meditation. And at about um, 3 minutes before the end of the walking period, you'll hear a bell if you keep the sound on YouTube. And if you want to be accompanied, in a sense, the YouTube will show now the walking hall at IRC, and uh, and maybe you'll do some simple walking back and forth if you're new to walking meditation. Maybe just relax into your body, feel the somatic experience of walking, and mind wanders off. Just come back. And sometimes it's very nice to be very simple with the walking, a quiet, simple, contemplative walk of just being connected to yourself and not trying to do too much, but let everything else kind of other concerns fall away. And I'll see you again at 10 minutes to 11, 10 minutes to the hour. Thank you. Yeah, so let's go try it.
Okay.
Somehow I've lost the. Wonder why.
Yeah, I saw that happen on the original picture.
Did I? I can't. I don't see. So I'll ring it. So welcome back to the second sitting. And I believe it's a very precious thing, perhaps even a marvelous thing, to take time out of a maybe busy life or take time out of whatever you're doing in order to spend time uh, allowing the whole psychophysical system to settle, to open, to relax, to allow ourselves the luxury, to allow ourselves the possibility, allow ourselves the healing of present moment experience, of learning to open up to settle into, to relax into our direct experience. And why this is so useful is that our psychophysical system is prepared, always prepared, to move in the direction of a certain kind of spiritual healing, to put down the preoccupations, to put down the resentments and the fears and anxieties and conceits and all the things that are kind of spinning with, to put it down, to give it a pause, to have a Sabbath from all our usual kind of preoccupations. Not to abandon them if they're important, but rather to be able to come back to them in a fresh way, come back to them in a new way, that we have wisdom and compassion for ourselves and our lives. So for this second sitting, once again, to take a meditation posture that for you expresses some degree of alertness. If you're sitting in a chair or on a cushion, to sit a little bit straighter with your posture. If you are laying down, be sure to have maybe your hand with your elbow resting, your forearm pointing to the ceiling. So there's a little bit of intentionality and effort that helps you stay a little bit more alert to what's going on. And to softly, gently close your eyes. And with your eyes closed, you can ask yourself the simple question: what are you experiencing right now? And to answer that question not by words or explanations or descriptions of what's happening, but to answer that question experientially, to allow yourself for your body, your direct perceptions of things, to reveal to yourself, what is your experience right now? And can you have a simple, generous attitude towards that present moment experience? To not be in conflict with it. To not try to get away from it or avoid it. Not try to fix it or make it different. And then within that experience, within yourself, to become aware of how the body experiences breathing. Perhaps having the breathing, the focus on breathing, be an alternative to having your attention go into your thoughts and concerns, or allow your primary concern to be breathing, but not a breathing that pushes anything away, but where breathing is at the center of what your embodied somatic experience is. Breathing at the center of what's happening with your emotions, your emotional life. And even the middle of your thinking world, the very heart of it, breathing. And keep returning to your breathing. Almost as if the cycles of breathing in and breathing out is turning the compost pile to let things be digested, be composted, turning everything into your breathing. Emotions can be turned over to your breathing. Your thoughts can be turned over to your breathing. Your physical sensations, everything. Keep coming back to the turning, the cycles of inhale and exhale. Especially as you exhale, to let go of your thoughts and let go into the turning of your breathing, turning of the compost pile. And then as we come to the end of this sitting, believe in the phenomenal usefulness, transformational power of dedicating any benefits, known or unknown, that have come from your meditation, dedicated to for the welfare of others. And more than just dedicated, but to actually consider, reflect on how the greater calm, the greater clarity, the greater goodwill, equanimity, the greater ability to let go, greater ability to be present and listen, how you can bring this into the world. And so that it's a clear connection for you that your meditation itself is support for the world at large as well, as you enter the world with as an agent of change, an agent who makes a difference. And don't have to think of it in a big way, but even the smallest things you can do. So may it be that the fruit of the meditation we've done today is for the welfare and happiness of beings everywhere. May it be that this meditation promotes the happiness, the safety, the joy, and the peacefulness for beings everywhere. And may it be that we do what it takes to support that. Thank you. So, in doing this mini retreat, thinking about it today and coming to IRC to be back at the retreat center, I'm thinking a little bit about the process of retreats, what happens to people when they go and retreat and have the opportunity to practice in more continuity than just a single meditation. Like for our mini retreat, to sit and to walk and to sit. For a day-long retreat, to sit and walk much of the day. And for residential retreats, or nowadays we do online retreats, where the continuity of being able to live this meditative life goes on for a few days at a time, that it puts us into a process that unfolds, that evolves over the time. And there's many ways of describing that unfolding process. And some of that unfolding process simply just happens as a byproduct of really being present for experience, really being here with what is. Or it's a byproduct from seeing clearly what's happening for us in the present moment. And so I think of it as four primary processes that go on. One, especially at the beginning of a retreat, is recovering, restoring, repairing ourselves. That living a stressful life, living a busy life, spending a lot of time even alienated from oneself in some deep way by being distracted, being lost in thoughts and preoccupations, in resentments and fantasies, all kinds of things where the challenges of living a human being make it so that we build up layers of tension, of stress, layers of difficult emotions and conflict and tensions we carry with us at every possible level of human life. And to come on retreat is to recover our natural capacity to be at ease, to be peaceful, have a healthy energy and a balanced kind of sense of being. And so a lot of that comes from just having a Sabbath. It comes from just taking a prolonged break from a life that perpetuates stress. And it can be quite powerful to do it with others, to do it in a place that really supports um, meditation, supports the unwinding, the recovery process. And and so the length of time for recovery varies from how long the retreat is, but that recovery, restoration that goes on, renewal that we get from meditation is retreats is one of the important parts of this process. And a lot of that is an undoing. It's not so much that we're doing the recovery or the restoring or the renewal. It's more like we just it's going on vacation and just kind of letting everything shed and shed and shed and relax and settle in. The second important process that goes on at retreats is a process of discovery. And this has a lot to do with the quality of clear seeing, of really seeing what's happening and really discovering what's going on here for us. What makes us tick? What are the motivations? What are the beliefs? What are the attitudes that we have that we carry with us that might actually play a very important role in our life and how we go through our life? But because we're busy with life outside of retreat, we don't really see it. But on retreat, we start getting quieter, drop down through the layers of the mind in a sense, and we start discovering some of the underlying ways that we are, the deeper motivating forces within us. Some people discover how tense they are, or discover how anxious they are. Some people discover their capacity for love and joy that they had no idea. Some people discover degrees of peacefulness and settledness and tranquility and a feeling of inner psychological, spiritual, even physical health that can come from this deep process of meditation. And so what we discover is so important. We discover some of the cravings and attachments we have so we can let go of them. We discover what's on the other side of preoccupation, the capacity for love and peace and wisdom that's there. And it's a beautiful thing to start just discovering and discovering. And for many people, it's discovering that they are much more wondrous than they ever imagined. That our innate capacity or inner capacity for beauty, for love, for peace, for goodwill, for not living it to live without any conflict with anything at all. The inner goodness that we have, and to discover that we've been covering over discoveries, also not uncovering, by being too busy and doing too many things and involved in too many preoccupations and chasing too many emotions and feelings and conceits and all the stuff that we spin our life with, to discover by settling and shedding that there's a phenomenal amount of goodness inside. And everyone, each one of us is actually quite wondrous. And to discover this inner wonder, beauty, specialness that we are, is one of the great gifts of meditation, of being on retreat. Another process of being on retreat is called cultivation. And this is where we're developing ourselves. To simply come back to the present moment every time the mind wanders away begins cultivating two strengths: the ability to let go, the three strengths: the ability to let go, the ability to recognize that we're caught up in thoughts, and the ability to let go and to be without preoccupation for a while. And all those can develop, become stronger and stronger. And after a while, the strength of mindfulness is such that because we've cultivated, it becomes a second nature to be more present, to be here in our experience much more. We cultivate our capacity for focus, to really, really be here and be concentrated and not wander off, be swept off easily by our thoughts and our thinking. And we discover our capacity for equanimity, for calm. We discover our capacity for honesty. We discover our capacity for love and kindness and compassion. We discover, we cultivate this. We discover them and we cultivate these capacities. And so as we discover more and more about what we're capable of, then we can also develop it. We can give time for it. If we discover that being peaceful feels very satisfying, then we can learn not to give up that peacefulness by getting involved in attachments again, or preoccupations, or getting distracted into fantasy. And so we're cultivating our ability to stay peaceful. So we're cultivating all these wonderful qualities, and there's a lot of qualities. And some of those qualities can be cultivated intentionally, but it's really kind of a delight how many of our best qualities kind of grow in the wake of mindfulness. There's something about showing up and being mindful of our experience that makes room for this discovery process and makes room to uncover and allow to grow. It's like gives breathing room for the best qualities inside of us to grow. The clarity and the presence of mindfulness takes away the fuel for the afflictive emotions, the afflictive and painful ways in which we live. It tends to make room for what's good to grow inside of us. So this cultivation part, and some of that is intentional. We actually try to cultivate calm, forgiveness, compassion, focus, concentration. The fourth process that goes on in retreat is a process of freeing. When we've discovered that how much attachment and clinging there might be, craving there might be, resistance there might be. We've discovered some of the attitudes we have that are not so healthy for us. And there's a process of letting go, releasing that. And some of that is intentional, some of it is unintentional, in the sense that we don't have to all do the letting go, the freeing. As the mindfulness gets stronger and stronger and we're able to be here more, there is a kind of natural releasing process that goes on. And some of the deepest and fullest experiences of freedom we can experience, it's not something we can do. And so partly because of that, we also have to learn to let go of ourselves as being responsible, letting go of ourselves as a doer and the fixer. But rather we let go of those so there can be a deeper letting go that is not our doing, but is because the conditions are ripe, because we've set ourselves up to be not in conflict, to be at ease, to be peaceful, to be focused. And there's something about that process of developing meditation that way that allows for deeper and deeper releases to happen, letting go. And then one of the wondrous things about some deep process of letting go into some kind of peace and settled and kind of intimacy with oneself and wondrous presence with oneself, one discovers much more, when that becomes a much stronger reference point for when we lose that and we start getting stressful again. If a white handkerchief is filled with oil spots and coffee stains and stains everywhere, one more stain, you hardly notice it. You wouldn't notice, maybe even wouldn't even notice it. But if it's really been bleached and very clean and has no spots on it, then one spot will be noticeable. As we settle and just go deeper and deeper and become freer and more present in meditation, that's a wonderful vantage point to notice the small attachments, how attachments come back, how we lose ourselves with much greater sensitivity than we had before. And then the process of recovery, of discovery, of cultivation has deeper and deeper meanings. And we drop deeper and deeper into the fullness of who we are. And that dropping in and becoming free is not really to become someone new, but it is a transformation where we really become ourselves. It's really a returning. I like to think of it as a homecoming to ourselves in a very deep way, very satisfying way. Homecoming and returning that's so deep that the idea of me, myself, and mine fall away with no need to be concerned with self. We most become ourselves. So those are my thoughts for this morning. And we do have some time for chats. And I have if some of you would like to add some questions to the chat function in YouTube, I will do my best to answer them. And and part of answering them is I've learned that over time that I think I've lost something here. Yeah, I've learned over time that I can't sometimes keep up with all the questions. And so then I think of it as like pulling questions out of a hat. So if I'm out of sequence from how they were written, please think of it just you're putting the question in the hat. And I appreciate that people coming from far away. There's people in Arizona, Betsy and San Rafael, Doug. Hi, Doug. And Val, probably now Val who lives nearby. Hi. And Anne in Peninsula. So can you say more about inner beauty? The word beauty is used in some cultures in some ways that has an ethical quality to it. That there's something about having ethical integrity that feels for the person who has it as a kind of inner beauty, an inner harmony, an inner fullness, an inner goodness, purity, something. And so as we settle in, the sense of harmony, the sense of good qualities flowing freely from us, has a feeling of beauty and ease and peacefulness, kind of like looking at a beautiful sunset or a wondrous thing, something like that. So I'm wondering if you think doing jhanic practice during retreat brings unique benefits or insights not accessible through body scanning or breath meditation. Well, jhanic practice, practicing deep absorption, that's a state that you would come into. And it's possible to experience jhanic states through body scans and especially through breath meditation. I think probably the most common way that people have developed jhanas or deep concentration in Buddhism has probably been over the centuries has probably been through breath meditation. And but the question is to do intentionally, to do just concentration practices to get into jhana. Is that useful on retreat? That can be useful, yes. As long as there's not a lot of conceit, a lot of attachments, a lot of expectations and insistence that has to be a certain way. If there's an attitude that's a kind of free and easeful attitude, and we're able to drop the hindrances, any practice, mindfulness, concentration, is really, really good. And I see that concentration and mindfulness are partners in this practice. And as the practice deepens, we want to develop them both to a strong degree. And whether we emphasize one more than other at different times, that's partly a personal choice and has partly to do with our personal circumstance. And can you speak a little bit between balanced difference of letting go versus complacency? Yeah, or non-action. I think the easiest thing is talk about in terms of complacency. Complacency is a kind of an attitude that if we really pay attention to it, can feel like something is off when we have complacency. We're not really, there's not much clarity, there's not much presence and engagement with something. It's more like a being comfortable and just kind of being willing to settle back and go along with things as they are. And so there's a little bit of a turning off of the attention, and just kind of excessive acceptance of things as they are. The the um, letting go is we're letting go of complacency for one thing. We're letting go of anything that limits us, any clinging, any attachment, any holding on, any shutting down that goes on. And we know we'll let go well if there's clarity in a sense of some kind of joy, some kind of feeling of well-being that comes with letting go. If we let go and there's no sense of being lighter, more easeful, more delighted, more sense of well-being, it probably isn't really letting go. It's hard to go back to daily life after this process of settling. Yes, it can be. But one way to think about that is now your practice really begins. That the retreat practice was just kind of warming up, and now you have to go really do the heavy lifting and really explore yourself and to really go into daily life and keep practicing and see what you can learn about yourself and learn what you have to let go of or how to show up in a very present way. And in a sense, meditation is maybe like the warm-up exercises at the gym. And now when you're warmed up, then now you have to go do the heavy lifting, which is in our life. Sometimes with shorter retreats like this, I have trouble settling in. I wonder if I'm getting any of these 4 elements benefits if I feel scattered. Probably, I think almost always there's benefit in meditating. But if it depends how you're meditating. If you're I'm not saying you're this way, but if some people are a little bit too relying on just doing nothing, being in a quiet environment, being quiet, and just allowing things to settle, and that's the only thing you're doing, maybe you don't get the full benefits of meditation. If you're scattered, one of the things you can be doing is being more mindful of what it's like to be scattered. So you're discovering more about what your experience is like. And so it's possible that if the person's only doing the first step, the recovering, the renewal, the settling in, that maybe it's not enough to get all the benefits of meditation. And maybe what needs to be brought in from the very beginning is a little bit more of the discovery process and really see more deeply what's really here, what's really here. And the more we can see, I think the more benefit you'll get from meditation. What advice do you give to those of us who struggle to access local groups and if online is sufficient? Oh, yeah, probably meditating with people online, especially now. That's kind of all there is for the time being. So just be content with that for now. I believe there can be a lot of benefit, and there can be a completely successful meditation career to meditate with others online. But I do believe that once we're able to, maybe in some places it's already happening, able to come together in groups, there's a lot of benefit from meditating with other people. There's things we pick up and learn by osmosis, all the subtle small cues, how people are, how we relate to them, all the different ways we can relate to other people. and to really feel and sense our practice in relationship to other people in the full richness of it supports a deepening of ourselves, or a greater self-discovery. And also it allows us, it gives a means by which we can come out of meditation or from our practice, um, uh, um, offer ourselves, our goodness, express ourselves in the practice community about what's coming out of our practice, our goodness, our respect, our care. Um, I remember after spending a time in the Zen monastery, it was very meaningful for me to bow at the end of the sitting, because that bowing expressed my gratitude and appreciation of sitting. And I felt like by expressing the gratitude, appreciation, it actually honored the gratitude and appreciation. If I didn't bow, it got a little bit bottled up. And the same thing with other people, to come out and bow to other people, especially in the context of a practice environment, allows this kind of deeper practice relationship, this way in which we respect and honor something deep inside of people, their capacity for freedom and goodness, and we can sometimes do in a community that a little bit hard to do in everyday life. I remember once when I came out of the monastery, after living there for 3 years, I was in the city and walking down the street, and I was walking by so many people on the sidewalk, more than I had ever in the monastery. And I just felt like I wanted to bow to all of them. But I thought that if I did that on the public street with strangers, they would think I was strange and maybe even trouble them. But I felt this desire, strong desire to bow and appreciate people. And then across the street, down the street, I saw someone I knew from the monastery. It just coincidence that she was there. And as I ran after her, I said, stop, wait. Can I bow to you? I wanted to bow to someone. From my understanding, if you don't wake up, you will be born and die again and again. That means life is not desirable. What's your take on that? So I take that kind of idea of being born and die again and again metaphorically, that if we don't wake up in this life, then we'll probably just fall back into the kind of death that happens when we get completely lost in our preoccupations, our attachments, our angers, our resentments, our fears, that there's something shuts down when we lose our mindfulness. There's a kind of dying or alienation. And then we have to practice and we wake up again. And it can feel like we get reborn. And some people who don't bring their practice in daily life and only rely on meditation or only rely on retreat, I have the experience of a certain kind of death and rebirth. They go on retreat, they feel so good, so wonderful, so clean, so clear. They go back into their life and there's a dying that happens there. And something wilts inside. They go back and meditate, go back on retreat, and it gets reborn again. So if we don't wake up so that we can stay awake and stay free, we'll keep doing those cycles over and over again in our daily life through this lifetime. Classically in Buddhism, they have this idea that happens over many lifetimes as well. And I don't really think about that so much. That's not really an important concept for me. And I don't really orient my life around that idea of multiple rebirth. And I'm just very content and happy to practice the best I can in this lifetime and wake up and not have to, certain kind of die this lifetime to be reborn again this lifetime. I just want to be free of this cycle of that goes on. So I think that's the questions that I saw and the way I can see this chat here. So thank you for participating, and I really appreciate that you would come and spend time like this. It's very nice for me to have this time with you, and so I think now I think in the chat or in the description or somewhere of the YouTube, there's a link to the Zoom room where there's a little community meeting, and you can meet others who've been meditating with now, and to be a little bit more sense of community and contact with people. And I know it's not the same as meeting in person, but meeting on Zoom in these Zoom rooms also have advantages. It's kind of special sometimes, and it's different than meeting in person, but it has its own specialness if you allow yourself to it. And one thing you can do ever so slightly, if people don't have to know you're doing this, but that is really lean into uh, your device that you're looking at, rather than pulling back and being distant and kind of letting that be out there, and just kind of like be a passive observer like you would maybe watching a movie on a screen. Kind of lean forward, like you're leaning forward towards a friend and really going to be there for them. And then appreciate the people you have for this on the screen. So thank you, and next week Nikki will be with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Gil, for your teaching, and thank you everyone for being with us. Mostly, thank you for your practice. Thank you for the goodness and the wondrous heart in you. May our practice benefit all beings and our precious planet. As Gil said, there will be community time, and the password to the community time Zoom meeting is community. And again, Nikki will be with you guys, and we'll miss you from our intro and the community time for the next 2 weeks.